Hello, you're watching Eye on Africa with me, Yenna Lee. Your top stories tonight. South Africa's president warns of a health apartheid, criticising once again travel bans. This as Omicron becomes the dominant strain of COVID-19 in the country. Rape and sexual violence are being used as weapons of war in Cameroon's Anglophone conflict. Our correspondents meet two survivors who recount their harrowing stories. And our reporters are in Gambia ahead of Saturday's presidential poll. We bring you a report on voters waiting to take part in the country's democratic transition. We start the show in South Africa, the first country to sequence Omicron. The number of recorded COVID-19 cases there are on the rise, climbing exponentially each day since Monday. Health officials say the new variant is now the dominant strain in the country. Meanwhile, authorities continue to denounce travel bans. Cyril Ramaphosa calling the current international reaction a slap in the face for African excellence and expertise. From Cape Town, here's Nadine Theron.
The number of daily new cases of coronavirus in South Africa has more than doubled between Tuesday and Wednesday, from around 4,300 to more than 8,500. And the National Institute of Communicable Diseases say that figure now stands at more than 11,500. That's compared to only 300 daily new cases less than a month ago. Scientists say that 74% of virus genomes they'd been sequencing had been of the new variant, Omicron. The overwhelming majority of new cases are in the country's economic hub of Gauteng, where Johannesburg and Pretoria are located. People who were previously infected with COVID do not appear to be immune against the new variant, with reinfection rates 3 times as much as that of the previous variant. Meanwhile, hospitalizations in the country has increased to around 300 in the past 24 hours. That's almost 10 times as much as it was a month ago. Some experts say the country is already in the 4th wave of infections. In the meantime, South African President Cyril Ramaphosa's words have been reiterated by the UN's Antonio Guterres, who has called travel restrictions on the area travel apartheid.
To Libya next, the legal saga surrounding a dictator's son's political comeback continues. Saif al-Islam is the son of late leader Muammar Gaddafi. He had signed up as a candidate for next month's presidential poll. The Electoral Commission disqualified his application, but now his lawyers confirm that the decision has been overturned and that he can effectively run. Gaddafi Jr. is wanted by a Tripoli court for war crimes. He was sentenced to death in absentia in 2015. Police in Cameroon have escorted Maurice Kamto out of Douala. The opposition leader was detained for more than 24 hours in a hotel in the country's economic capital. He was there to launch his latest book. Now, it's not the first time the former minister has found himself in the crosshairs of authorities. France 24 correspondent Claudia Nsono is in Yaoundé. She takes us through what happened.
News that Cameroon's opposition leader Maurice Kamto was held under house arrest first appeared on social media late Wednesday. Several people, including Cameroon People's Party's Kawala, took to Twitter to condemn the move, stressing that he is a citizen like any other with a right to freedom of speech and movement. According to his Cameroon Renaissance Movement, or MRC party, Kamto's arrest came shortly after he had visited some supporters. The people he met were arrested in September 2020 for taking part in peaceful protests over government's decision to organize regional elections. MRC party officials told us that the heavy military apparatus outside the hotel where he was being detained had been dismantled. It is still very unclear why exactly he was not allowed to leave his hotel, but the party officials say that he was now being forcefully escorted by tight security back to his base in Yaoundé. All of this is happening barely a year after his release from a 2-month house arrest. Authorities did not charge Kamto or provided any explanation for this. This very heavy crackdown on opposition leaders by Cameroonian authorities has been strongly condemned by rights groups, including Amnesty International and Human Rights Watch.
Staying in Cameroon, rape and sexual violence have become weapons of war in the Anglophone conflict. The UN has documented over 2,500 cases in the west of the country. The crimes are reportedly perpetrated by both security forces and separatist militias. In this next report, our correspondents met with two survivors, a 13-year-old and a 26-year-old. This is their story.
This 13-year-old girl no longer talks. She became mute the day she was raped. 3 years ago, separatist fighters attacked her village in Cameroon's northwest region, causing panic among residents. While many managed to escape, she couldn't. Following the incident, she's been living in this house in a remote area of Yaoundé. Her aunt who took her in spoke to us on the condition of anonymity.
When the devil did what they did to my niece, from there things changed. She does not socialize with anybody. She's always in the closet.
Cameroon's English-speaking regions have been plagued by an armed separatist conflict for 5 years now, and stories like these are not uncommon. In another neighborhood in Yaoundé, this 26-year-old mother was raped at gunpoint. 5 years ago, heavily armed men raped her in a forest in the northwest region where she had sought refuge after an attack. She now has 4-year-old twin girls born from the rape.
When I gave birth to my twins, I was sick. Since that day, things have not been going very well. People insult me anyhow. To look for a job, to do anything has not been easy.
Forgiveness is one of the few NGOs in the capital, helping these rape victims heal from their trauma.
Please sit down.
The founder, Franca Mai, offers psychosocial support. Today, she's helping one victim regain faith in life. The NGO has supported nearly 1,000 victims of the Anglophone crisis since 2018.
We talk to them. We try to know what they need, what is blocking them from taking the next stage of their life. And we try to advise them and coach them to transform the pain of conflict into purpose.
Since the eruption of the crisis, over 2,500 cases of rape and sexual assault have been recorded in Cameroon's English-speaking regions, according to the United Nations.
To Gambia next. Campaigning for Saturday's presidential election stops at midnight local time Thursday. It's the first such vote since longtime leader Yahya Jammeh fled the country after his 2016 defeat at the polls. The election is a test for the young democracy. 6 candidates are in the running, including current leader Adama Barrow. Sarah Sacker and Eliman Ndao report from Banjul.
In Banjul, the candidates only hit the campaign trail once the sun's gone down. Usainu Darbo's UPD party is holding a meeting in the city centre. Karamo came to support the historic opponent, who's considered one of the heavyweights of this election.
The Gambian youth is too tired. That's why we support Darbo. I went to school, but I don't have a job.
This is the 5th time that the UDP has participated in the presidential elections, and it's the first without former President Yahya Jammeh.
Very free. It's different from the previous years, the elections we used to have. Because many youths those days will not cast their votes because they believe that the same corruption system Yahya Jammeh introduced in this country, that's what is going to take place.
Adama Barrow is running for a second term. The president had promised a 3-year transitional government before ultimately ending up staying in power. But this unfulfilled promise has not dented the confidence of his supporters.
It's man of wisdom, it's man of reality, and it's man of democracy.
Today, we are enjoying that democracy. We are right to support President Barrow.
4 of the candidates are running for president. It's the first time the political space has been so open in the Gambia. Saliu Tal is an election observer from a civil society collective. He believes there's been significant democratic progress.
The different political parties really have access to the public broadcaster, and I believe overall candidates are now having to sell their programs to the Gambian people.
Although he's not in the running, Yahya Jammeh's presence can still be felt. The former president, who denies the accusations of corruption, human rights abuses and rape levied against him, is now in exile in Equatorial Guinea. Despite this, he's still attempted to influence the election by messaging his supporters through WhatsApp. Outbursts that trigger controversy every time.
And finally, we take a look at how one charity is fighting HIV/AIDS in Tunisia, finding treatments for patients, breaking taboos surrounding sex, and tackling social stigma is all on their agenda. Our correspondents sent us this.
At the Association for the Fight Against Sexually Transmitted Diseases, Ayman agreed to tell us his story anonymously. He's had HIV for 16 years after having had unprotected sex. He still feels stigmatized because of the infection.
السلسلات تبع فيك حتى اللي باش تموت، تبع فيك في ولدك وقت اللي تولد، وتبع فيك وقت اللي تدخلوا للروضه، خاطر مالوريزمون عندنا الوراق، عنده الكارني نتاعو باش يدخل بيه للروضه غدوه وباش يدخل بيه للمكتب، مكتوب فيه فياش فياش والبو فياش، كاين يقاتل روح التهمه تقعد معاك للي تموت.
Today, Ayman works with young people in this center, but the taboo around sexuality is always present, as Senia Terkhani explains. She has worked for 20 years at the association.
نعطيوه الواقي الذكري لو بريزرفاتيف ونعطيو لو جيل لبغفيون بوغ لي رابور انو نفرقوا عليهم اون بلوس بريزرفاتيف هذا بنان والكل مالوغوزمون في تونس مازال تابو يحشم ويمشي الفارماسي يلقى جارو.
That's why every December 1st, Balkis, an association member, works with volunteers to do awareness campaigns, like with these signs.
Ici, on a ماكش وحدك, donc tu n'es pas seul. ما تخافش مني, n'aie pas peur de moi. Et c'est des mots qui s'adressent au grand public pour dire qu'on doit arrêter la stigmatisation des personnes vivant avec le VIH.
The association also offers psychological support and follows up treatments for those with HIV, especially important during the COVID crisis when many patients suffered during lockdowns.
Donc là, on est en train de renouer les liens et de les recontacter, les convaincre de reprendre leur traitement.
It's essential support. It's estimated that out of more than 6,000 people with the virus in the country, only 20% know they have HIV.
That's it from Eye on Africa. More international news coming up next with Mark Owen.
In Brazil, agribusiness has become an environmental nightmare. In the eastern state of Rondônia, organised groups fight for farmland attribution.
Certeza que daqui a alguns anos aqui será grande fazenda, grande.
Jair Bolsonaro's government claims they are protecting the Amazon, but with behind the official propaganda, illegal occupations and deforestation abound.
Se eles ganham, é lucro absurdo, né? Como essa área lá onde o governo já sinalizou que vai estar querendo liberar, certamente o preço da terra lá já multiplicou muitas vezes.
Reporters on France 24 and France24.com.